Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of T.N.T. Garage and Performance. Now when you were kids, did you ever, ride your bike and you pulled your little red wagon behind one of those rubber band style bungee cords? That's about how I feel today. My body's the bike and my head is the wagon, to where my body just takes off and my head catches up. And that's because it's that wonderful time of year where ragweed is afoot and I can't breathe. So when you got a nose as big as I do, you kind of need it for the intake air to get anything productive done. That being said, right now I feel worse than Chris Rock's face at the Oscars in 22. But we do have a fun video for you today, even though I'm not going to be working all that hard. And that is, as you can see, there's actually some shine on this car. That's because I laid on some Vice Grip Garage Shine Juice, which I always meant to order, but I don't know. There's probably guys like you out there that are like, well, I want it, but I don't want to wait for it to ship. So I picked some up when I seen Derek up at Iola, and we got that put on the car today. Also, to bring the gasser look around with the car, we custom fabricate a hood scoop for it that I think looks pretty good. So you're going to want to stick around for this one, and let's see what I can accomplish before I pass out. So let's get to it. Well, now I'm going to work on putting a little shine juice on this car. I'm not going to do the whole thing. I'm only going to do the parts that I know I'm not going to letter in the future, so we can get some of this stuff protected, like the hood, the insides of the fenders, and probably the deck lid and the tops of the quarters. So first thing I did was I went ahead and attacked it with some of this red Scotch-Brite pad, and now I've got an SOS pad and some water, and we're going to work into this and see if we can't bring some more of this bare metal out that's not rust. I think that'll look pretty cool underneath the shine juice, so let's do that. I'm not going to go too crazy on the paint itself, just kind of rub it down. I really want to get into these bare metal areas and just get the, the rust and corrosion out of them and see if we can't make it look a lot better. I'll have to soak a towel in water to help kind of clean this off before it dries, but I really don't want to run water all over my floor in here. And I could roll it outside, but I'm not feeling that great. I don't feel like pushing this thing around. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'll pull the Challenger out, roll the car forward, and just hose it off quick. But we'll just work in all these areas. There's bare metal here, and this is all like just rust, real hard rust. But there's some areas where it didn't get in there, just kind of peeled the paint off and left really unrusted bare metal. And that's what I want to dig down into to really make these areas pop. Then I've got this half just about done. I'm going to get down in there. I'm going to grab a wet towel and we'll kind of rinse this off. The Scotch-Brite really got into them bare metal areas. I don't know if you guys can see it on camera, but they look pretty good. see all the rusted stuff I'm picking up on this towel. Don't worry, this is an old towel though. It's already stained from me, years of me showering and all that stuff with it, or just wiping my greasy hands on it because I'm too lazy to find a crappy towel. So we actually got some pretty good bare metal coming through up here. So I'm going to get into these areas, see if I can't bring a little more of it out. But I think that's going to look really good. So I'm going to continue attacking this right down the middle with a little more of the Scotch-Brite. And then once it dries and we clean it off, we'll lay the Shine Juice on half. It's looking pretty good so far. I think I'm going to dig in to these rusty spots on the grill too, with a little bit of that Scotch-Brite. One, to clean up what little chrome that's left, and we'll also Shine Juice this. So, as I got this cleaned off, I'm kind of curious. I kind of want to bring some patina through on the inside of this fender, because this car was not originally purple. It was purple brand new because the person that bought it had wanted this specific color. This car was actually kind of not an olive drab green, but a metallic green in that kind of part of the color wheel. And I think it's a really neat color. I can see it on the roofing spaces that was under the vinyl top, and you can see it where the paint's chipped a couple areas on here. So I wonder how hard I'd have to attack this with, say, a Scotch-Brite pad and some steel wool to kind of bring some of that through. So as this acetone or mineral spirits is kind of drying off of this stuff, I'm going to get in here and see if I can't bring some of that old color out. Yeah. I'm going to bring you guys in a little closer to kind of see what I'm working with here. And actually coming into the metal in a few of these areas ain't too bad. It looks pretty good. So come on in and have a look. So this is what's under all that purple paint, is this green. And I really dig the color. So, like I said, I'm just going to carefully feather around it and just see how much of this we can bring out without going too far down into the metal. You can see there's bare spot there. So, this purple paint is incredibly thick. And I just burn right through the green stuff fairly easily. So light pressure with this 320 block, and see if we can just kind of work it out. Yeah, take a couple of these sanding scratches out from my 220, kind of make it look like a sun rust, something like that. Now I could go real crazy and kind of go up the fender, but as easily as I'm burning through that, I'll probably leave this side as is. I think it looks pretty good. Maybe I'll work on it a little more over there and try maybe get a longer strip up towards the top to show off some of this old body work, because I really dig that. All right, let's try my hand at hitting this with some Shine Juice. That paint kind of making me look like I raided a raspberry bush, but I'll wash my hands later. So, throw some gloves on, and I'm just going to use my shop towels the paper shop towels to apply this. Now you could do it with terry cloth, you know, a terry cloth wrap sponge, stuff like that. But towel works just the same. And I really have no idea what I'm doing, so that's kind of the impetus of this channel. It's me just kind of blindly hacking my way through a build. So, says you don't need a whole lot. I don't know if you have to shake it. I'm probably, whatever, you know. Got one of them in there. Hey. Can't fit my finger in it. There we go. Get rid of that. That's way too much. Well, as Derek would say, perfect. So I'm going to soak this into my towel a little bit, set this down. And we're just going to wipe. Really don't need a whole lot, that's for sure. So we're just gonna get it in there, kind of buff it down in as we apply it. There's actually plenty in this towel for me to do this. Like I said, probably a little too much, but we'll get it worked down in. Make sure we get up towards the cowl here. You know, all this nasty rust. Probably a good thing I'm wearing gloves. You can see I'm still taking some of the paint residue with it. So gotta be careful around these rusty edges. I don't want to get my towel part of the patina on this car. So you can see there's about 5,000 different colors between the purple base coat, the green underneath it, the bare metal, this red oxide primer that the previous owner was in love with. So just gonna work it in. Continue to buff it down in. Really get that coming around. So you can see a bunch of my sanding scratches here, but that's all right. You know, as much as I want to have this completely perfect, you know, I think that's buffed in pretty good. I'm going to clean up my floor and yeah, we'll see how this turns out so we can get an A-B comparison from the middle of the hood over. Well, here's our pre-shine juice. See, it's pretty dull, just nasty, rusty. And we get into our shine juice area. And this looks really good. Like I said, it brings out that red oxide primer. Pretty good, just makes it look a lot better. We got it into the grill, on the headlight bezel, and it really makes this area here pop, where I deliberately sanded down through this purple base coat into the green and down into the metal. And you can see all these bare metal areas on the hood that look pretty good. And this paint is all checked and stuff like that. So it'll protect that. It'll keep this rust from getting worse. You know, this car would be safe to roll outside once I get the entire thing done. But the plan is not to do the shine juice on the roof, because I actually want to paint that and shine juice the rest of the car. So I think that's quite the transformation, and it definitely makes everything look even better, especially that rusty part of the grill. Instead of that just being like that dull brown rust, it just darkens it up, makes it look a lot better. So I'm going to move over to this side, and we're going to go ahead and SOS this. Same thing, get into these metal areas. You see how this has got a little bit of surface rust on it, how much it cleaned up over here. We're going to do the same thing all these spots. And I'm going to try and sand a little more down on this inner fender to get some of that effect there. And I don't know, maybe I'll do the outsides here because I'm actually going to be lettering the fenders probably in this area, so I don't want to put the Shine Juice on it till I get the lettering done and then go over the whole thing. But maybe we'll just cut it off here and kind of bring it over the edges, the aprons of the outer fenders. But that looks pretty good. You can see how shiny this is compared to this dull stuff. So I'm going to continue on and we'll see what our results are. Well, we got her Shine Juiced across the whole thing. I actually tried a different towel and it seemed to work out quite a bit better. I'm just buffing it in now to keep that shine coming. You can see I got a really good stretch of this green in here, a little bit of bare metal as we go back, and that's all going to be protected underneath this. I just want to feather all this in, make it look real nice, getting around everything up here, and it actually doesn't make this red oxide stuff look all that bad. Kind of gives it some character. Definitely looks a lot better than when we started. So, like I said, you can still see all the sanding scratches over here, but whatever. This is my first time really trying any patina type stuff. And on a car like this, it really doesn't matter. We're not going for perfect. It's kind of the point of this car is to build something really good underneath and just have what's left of the original car preserved. And I think this will do a really good job of that. Well, the next project that I'm actually going to work on today, it's going to be a fun one for the car, is we're going to build a hood scoop for it. Not just any hood scoop. We're going to build a very unique hood scoop for this car that kind of ties into the history. So I've got some bent, looks like 16 gauge steel, and we're going to start with this to make the structure of our hood scoop. And as I go along, you'll kind of see what I'm getting at with this. And I think with this being the structure and some sheet metal and also some Lexan, I think it's going to be a pretty cool thing. So I'm going to start laying this out. I'm going to take some measurements on the hood to see where everything kind of is going to land. And then we can go ahead and start laying this out. All right. So I made a measurement, and about what I want is a 20-inch long scoop. So we're going to start by marking this out 20 inches. And those will form the pieces that are going to set down on the hood. So I'm going to charge up the air compressor. We're going to zip these apart, and then we might have to bend them a little bit to get them to fit neatly on the hood, but then we can continue building the rest of our structure. All right, so we got our base laid out. That's 20 inches. So now we want to figure out how to get ourselves at a height of 5 inches. 4 inches in the back, 5 in the front, so along with the angle of the hood, it'll sit right. So from here, we'll actually go 5 in the back, 6 in the front. Essentially, going to be the side shape of our scoop. Now I just need to bevel cut all these so I can get a good approximation of what I'm going to need. And now we can go ahead and start trimming these where I marked them and get this to fit together a little better, and then we can tack it and repeat everything. But after I get these cut, I'll transfer them onto more angle facing the other way, of course, and then we can tack it together. There we go. We got one side of the structure done. Now I can transfer all these to another stick of this angle, get both sides done. We'll tack them together, and then we can continue on doing the outer sheet metal. Well, as you can see, we got both side structures for the scoop laid out. So now I'm just going to grind the edges and then bring the welder over, and we'll tack one side together and then match the other side so everything's the same. I also cut out a couple of chunks that'll span from one side of the scoop to the other, and of course I'll bend the rear one out and the front one in so all the angles continue to line up. Alright, so now what I did to make sure these are even side to side is I've got the one I already welded together, laid out, and I've got this one clamped even with the bottom, and now we can start lining up this piece here. I'm just going to use the flat of one of my other angles here. Well, we got the skeleton finished up. I've just got a couple bars in there to keep it all square, but that's the beginning of the hood scoop. You can see, nice skeleton. We got our windows. That's going to be for something later down the line, and then we'll skin the top of it and half the back so airflow can actually make it through it with sheet metal. So that's pretty decent little deal there. Well, I got my scoop assembled, so I'm gonna go ahead and clean all these welds off, go ahead and grind them down, make them smooth, and then we can work on doing our side panels. And I'll figure out what I want to do at the top and the back here. So let's get this stuff ground up. All right. Well, I figured out what I want to do as far as closing this scoop in. And I've got this aluminum that I had in my shed that I cut out. And I'm going to rivet it onto the scoop. I'm not going to rivet it to the top. I'm actually going to rivet it underneath. But just for drilling the holes, I'm going to go ahead and lay it on top, even it out. It's like that, maybe a little more. There we go. That way I can pop 2 holes in it and get some rivets in there, and then we should be good to go. it's time to finish off the rest of the scoop. And I'm going to be using Lexan. So I've got some pieces cut that's going to drop in the back there, and it's going to allow air to come through the scoop. So it's just not a big air catcher, but it'll also direct air into my induction setup. So first things first is I'm going to mark all my stuff here, drill some holes, and then set this in there, drill through that, and then rivet that in. I think these rivets should work, I hope. I don't know if I might need to get longer ones. I think we'll be all right, as long as we don't break the Lexan. And that's one thing. So I'm going to start with this panel first and kind of see what we wind up with. So there we go. See how she looks. That's centered-ish. I'd say that looks pretty good. And now what I can do is I'll measure the hood, get the center, and then from there out we can measure where our flange is going to be, and we can actually cut the hole and rivet this down. I want to make sure, because the cowl actually comes up about this far into the hood, so we want the scoop in the right spot. I want it set as such so, air actually makes its direction to the engine, not behind it. So I'm going to admire this for a little bit, and then we'll get to slashing into this pristine hood. All right, well, I've got the hole marked out. Am I sure it's absolutely center? I've measured it like 6 times and I still don't know. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut the hole anyway. And thanks to my ADD, I wasn't smart enough to do this before I decided to, shine juice it. So it might start on fire. But we'll see. I'm pretty happy with that. I might scooch it back another 1.5 inches because I've got the room. I've got it temporarily just riveted on there now to make sure it sits on the hood good and all that, but I think it looks pretty sharp. That's a pretty good looking scoop there. Pretty much exactly the style I wanted. I wanted a front-facing scoop, kind of like a backwards version of what was on the 2-lane blacktop car, and also really inspired by one of Finnegan's scoops that he had on Blasphemy. So the hard part's done. Got it fabricated. We got all the Lexan in there, and I've got some plans for that in the future, but looks pretty good from behind the dash. So I think that's where I'm going to call it tonight. I'm going to come back out tomorrow. We still got to do the deck lid with Shine Juice, and I'm going to touch this up a little bit as well as Shine Juice, the raw steel on the scoop as well. But I am pretty happy with that. That definitely gives it more of the gasser look, and my wheel tub showed up, so that's going to be future project. We'll talk about that more in the morning. But yeah, I'm going to call it a night. I'm going to clean up a little bit here and go inside. All right, well, we got our hood scoop made last night. Today we're going to finish up our Shine Juice. So last night, after I turned the camera off, I had already prepped this fender, this door, and this door. And I know I said I wasn't going to touch this because I'm going to leather it, but you can take this stuff off fairly easily if you wanted to clean an area to do something with it. So I want to get the look of the full effect of this car, you know, not being dull, chalky, Barney purple. So we'll do the same process we did yesterday. I'm just using a paper towel, a shop towel, a thicker one. And we don't need a whole lot of it. Just kind of soak it in. There we go. Now, you wipe it on. Pretty good. We'll see after this stuff more or less sets. There's not much to it. It just gets to where it's not, you know, wet, sticky, tacky to the touch. So that should be pretty good. Kind of digging the look, to be honest. Definitely better than that chalky, whatever the hell that was, with white overspray on it. So now I'm going to work my way to the back. I might push the car forward a little bit to get some room back there, and we're going to attack that trunk lid and rear area. That's the reason why I didn't get Shine Juice on the quarters back here, because there will be some dust produced when I'm doing that. I'd like to keep it at the rear of the car. So, like I said before, I never really follow instructions or do things as planned or the way I should do them. I just kind of poke and hope, and you know, automotive ADD. I jump from thing to thing to thing. So the idea would be to do the whole car at once, and I'm just not that guy this week. So we're gonna get working on the back. All right, we are now at the back of the car, unless my allergy meds have done a lot more than I thought they did. So we're going to go ahead and attack this and knock it down a little bit. We got a lot of surface rust. Not anything, you know, that's eating through, but it's kind of porous. So SOS just ain't gonna cut it back here. So what I'm gonna use is a gray Scotch-Brite pad. It's a little less aggressive, and hopefully we don't get real deep scratches in it, and we can make it look pretty good. And also to keep the dust down for two reasons. One, I can't hardly breathe as it is, and two, to keep it off of our Shine Juice. I got that door open. We're gonna use water to keep the dust at bay. So I'm just gonna wet this down, and we're just gonna work over everything. So I'm gonna be nice to you guys so you don't have to listen to me struggle to breathe, and we're gonna put some music on and really get it digging in this paint. I'd say that turned out pretty good. Got the scoop on. We got the car shine juiced. Went ahead and did this quarter. Same thing I did before. Brought a little bit of that green out, took her down to bare metal. I think that looks really nice as far as breaking up just this sheer amount of purple, which I might do it in the future on the driver's door here, like where your arm would hang out. Kind of do that. We got this quarter shine juice, all this done. One thing I did notice, this single stage paint, especially where it's cracked and beaten up, really soaks in that shine juice. So may have to go over it again sooner in the future than later, but I think that really makes the car look like less of a wreck and more something that might function someday. So far, loving the hood scoop. This is also something that could easily be converted into a carb scoop if I ever had to use for it, because this is flanged in, so we could just put a dual carb flange on there, mount it to the top of some carbs if I ever, decide to go with a different scoop on this, use it on something else, what have you. So pretty happy with that, how it turned out. Aluminum top, plexiglass all around, and of course, like I said yesterday, got the opening in the back, so as air rushes in, it's not just going to deadhead and make the hood flop around. It'll make the hood pull up a little bit, but at least it'll be able to vent out while still guiding air down towards the carburetor, air cleaner, what have you. Well, now, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, the floors were done, so I got it home, and it's to the point where I can take over on it. So that is pretty freaking nice. These are all hand fabricated. There are no ordered parts in here. And I'll show you how even more impressive that is once we get under the car. But they went ahead and finished them this far for me, because right here is going to be the bulkhead that supports the rear seat. And then I will continue to do the floor up to the bottom of the rear seat. I'm actually going to crawl in here and show you some of the things the guys did and what I've got to do yet. So, this is the first time I've ever stood in this car and didn't go through the floor. All right. So, the one big thing I had my hand in that I can claim is I built that panel. That kickboard there, yep, that was all me. The guys did the rest of this, that doesn't matter, but I did that. I'm just kidding. These guys did a phenomenal job. These are all one piece, toe board all the way back, one piece for each side, and then the tunnel is bent out of one piece for the trans, and then one piece for the drive shaft. They also replaced the lower part of the kickboard over there. We've got it up into the factory firewall, and then right here is more stuff that I got to do to finish up and just kind of tidy everything up. And as far as back here, they also got, before I get too far, they got my inner rockers in too, which is huge to the structure of this car. So, as you can see, this is pretty wrecked. The structure behind it is good, which is a godsend. So this whole door post is actually good. I'm going to cut this panel out, and we're going to take the wheel tubs completely out of the car along with these inner panels. And we're going to rebuild them with, get out here, with these wheel tubs. So I'll talk about that a little bit later. I want to continue on with these guys' hard work. When they were putting this car back together, we had everything cut out, and this thing was just going all kinds of wonky. The doors didn't want to shut and all that, and they actually went through all the work and got it so all the doors shut. Everything lines up as good, if not better, than it did when it left the factory in Kalamazoo. So I think that's a pretty impressive floorboard. It used to hump up in the driver and passenger area. We went ahead and did away with that. It's just simpler not to have it. So let's show you the real impressive part underneath. All right, so we got all this structure underneath, and I'll point that out. Don't mind the plywood spacers. We were still working on finding body mounts, but we wanted something the thickness of the original body mount to get the body where it belongs. They readjusted my body mounts off of the frame because from checker they were angled down towards the outside of the car, so they're all level now. And you can see it's got hat channel supporting the entire floor, which is pretty impressive. Nate had made all this hat channel, all of it. It didn't come this way. He cut it, broke it and all that. So that is very impressive. This is a very solid floor. It's all rolled. Just really, really impressive, especially when you get into the tunnel. I mean, there's structure all through there. It's just amazing. So I'm going to crawl out from underneath here and catch my breath. So yeah, let's do that. Well, guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video of me trying to get something done while feeling like absolute dog crap. I think the car looks a lot better. I was going to do this in the future anyway, so I guess I'm saving myself some time now and getting it protected just in case if I got to roll this outside for any reason. So that way none of this rust will get worse. It won't affect my bare sheet metal. So it's a twofer. It protects it in case it's got to go outside, and it looks pretty dang good. I'm also really happy with the hood scoop. Tell me what you think about that. I mean, it's a little modern for a gasser, but it's got the look, I think, especially when I get my special idea all worked out for this. You guys are going to like that. I got to talk to a couple people that might be able to knock out what I need them to do as far as making this thing kind of fit the history of this car a little more. So we'll see how long it takes there. Now, as far as future plans for this car, the next episode you see this car in, I will be working on the rear section of the floor, getting the wheel tubs in and getting those inner panels in, as well as working on getting this front end to tilt. So that'd be bolting the hood to the fenders, kind of trimming stuff up that we don't need around the old core support, and basically chopping it here so we can tilt it without interfering with the doors. And I've got a pretty neat idea, some cheap hackery that will actually work pretty good, to secure the hood in as it comes down. You see a lot of them with pins or something to hold the lower part of the fenders in. I've got a better idea for that. But as far as the wheel tubs, when I seen that the ones in there were completely rotted, I immediately looked at Summit and I started looking at wheel tubs. And for a 36-inch by however 12-inch wide tub, just for the cheapest one out there, was $160 a tub. And I got to thinking, this is a budget build. So I looked at trailer fenders. These are single axle fenders for a trailer. They're 16 gauge steel, which is a little heavier than the 18 gauge you typically find in a regular wheel tub. But these will work. They're not overly heavy, and they're already closed in on the back. These were definitely a lot more budget than your typical run-of-the-mill wheel tub, because these were less than the price of one wheel tub from Summit or Jags. So this is what we'll be using in the back, and it doesn't have to reach the outer quarter. That's not how these cars are built. It's just simply the tub inside the car. So I'll show you how that works in the next video on this car. That was loud enough. But if you enjoyed this video, go ahead, like, share, and subscribe. Go ahead, comment down below what you think of this project or any other of the projects on the channel. you can find me and all my projects right here on YouTube. Each and every one of them has a playlist. So go ahead, if you're bored, driving, something like that, put it on, put it in the background, pay attention, you know, try to run a couple people off the road. It's good, it's fine. If you're not holding your phone, it's not illegal. I'm also not a lawyer, so you can find all this on YouTube. You can also find me and updates on the projects and new releases of videos at T.N.T. Garage and Performance on Facebook and at T.N.T. Garage and Performance on Instagram. So I am pretty well whooped. These allergies have been driving me nuts, and I am just ready to clean the garage and call it good. Unfortunately, I got to get back on the road, so that doesn't help. So we're going to wrap it up here. So remember, until next time, if it ain't broke, fix it till it is. We'll see you soon.